Hey guys, how we doing? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, August 26th, 2024. And what a weekend it was. Not necessarily for boxing, but the heart rate. Start off with a footy note today. I did see there's a couple of comments in there. The Blues, we were beaten with 12 seconds on the clock by St Kilda, which seems to be the Carlton way these days, finding a way to rip defeat from the jaws of victory. No one does it better than Carlton. Yes, high emotions for the weekend. Did end up in the finals, by the way, because our good friends at Port Adelaide got over the line against Fremantle and got us into the final. So thank you to all the Port Adelaide players, supporters, the club. And if we don't win it this year, I hope Port Adelaide do. So we'll get into some comments. As always, the comments are all over the shop, but I've got the live feed beside me, so I'll be able to get the comments in half a different a half decent order. Who we got in the chat at the moment? We've got Big J, old mate Big J. We've got he's doing good things up in Sydney, I see, this week with the Zerafa fight. Who's he fighting? Carl Mazudia. Peter Nutt. I'm sure there's a few Carlton jokes you've got going in there at the moment, Peter. We've got Damien Rochester. We've got Tommy Dokes, Eminem 88. So welcome to the show, everyone that's tuning in or listening after the fact on Spotify. So again, if you can't watch this live, check out Spotify. It's loaded up on a Tuesday morning-ish, anytime before lunchtime anyway, so check that out. Let's get into some comments. And we'll start off with Damien Rochester. How are you there, mate? Holy shit, you must have been on a roller coaster of emotions yesterday. Ha ha, enjoy the finals, you lucky bastard. Oh, talk about a roller coaster, Damien. This is Carlton we're talking about. Look, we went in there with literally half our team out and still managed to be in front with 11 seconds to go. I still can't get my head around how they blew it, Damien. The only team that could do this as well, by the way, is Essendon. I don't know. We've been cursed by the football gods, but anyway, they did shine a little bit on us a little bit later, and we got some revenge, and we're in the finals. So that's all that matters. Still with Damien. What have you done to me, mate? I took your advice. I ate 4 Snickers before the Zoo press conference for the fight Wednesday. Now I'm thinking about buying this great card. Get the event, Damien. It's going to be a great show. They look. The thing is with these shows, especially the ones with no limit, we'll call them out if they're no good, but you're also giving them credit. Got to give them credit where credit is due, and on this card, I think it is due. I would have liked to have seen the Jackson Murray and Brendan Grass fight still part of the card. I'm not quite sure what happened there. If you do know, put it in the chat, but that would have been great, and also Amber Amelia would have been great in with Jazzy Parr. But you can't have everything, and I think the fight card should be something worth the $70, hopefully. So if you haven't got it yet, make sure you do. If you haven't, we'll have no plans to get it, but you still want to keep up to date. I will be doing the live watch along from 7 p.m. on Wednesday night, so make sure you tune in. All right, on to, I knew his name would come up eventually. Michael Zerafa. Damien says Zerafa definitely has a path to Tim. If he gets to the Nikita fight and demolishes him, Tim is stepping in 100%. Well, does he demolish him, Damien? I've got my doubts. I think everyone's a little bit quick to write Nikita off, and I think they just go by the logic that because Michael's been at the top level, and Nikita Tszyu hasn't yet, and he's only had the 9 fights, that Michael Zerafa would be too much for Nikita. I might be in the minority, but I think Nikita wins that fight. Now, sure, I'll have Michael jumping up and down as he usually does when someone doesn't pat him on the back. He's had his say in the past, but while I understand where Michael's going with the whole Tim and Nikita route, as far as him just injecting himself into the boxing careers. I understand at 32 years of age, he hasn't got a lot of years left. So I totally understand him trying to get one of those fights. But I think Nikita Tszyu gets the job done. I think Michael has had those bigger fights. There's no doubt about that. He's had 36 fights, so definitely the resume there. But as I've said in the past, he hasn't won any of those fights. So just my opinion. I'm not having a crack at Michael. I'm not having so anyone that's a Michael Zerafa fan, don't get your knickers in a bunch. I'm not having a crack at him per se. I'm just stating my opinion. It's nothing personal. I just think based on styles, I think Nikita Tszyu wins that fight. And I haven't really had any reason, if I'm being honest, to think that Michael Zerafa is the fighter that he keeps telling us he is. And again, it's nothing personal. I'm just stating my opinion. He's done great things for Australian boxing as far as he's taken the Anthony Mundine position where he's the villain and he's embraced that. So that's great. But I haven't seen anything yet, apart from maybe the win over Isaac Hardman, who I, again, don't put in Nikita Tszyu's category, that tells me that he's going to beat Nikita. So that's just my opinion. But anyway, I'm sure everyone's got their own. I'm sure there'll be some comments in there saying I know shit about boxing, but that's just what I'm saying. I haven't seen anything yet that would change my mind. So, all right, we will move down the list there. We have Tommy Dokes. What's your first comment there, mate? All right, where are you there? Hope all is well. Good luck to Nikita coming up. Yeah, look, it's not going to be an easy fight, Tommy. This is a tough fight for Nikita. Kyle Mazudia is a rough and tough guy, and I said in my walking boxing video this morning that, look, he's not the fastest guy. He doesn't punch as hard as other guys. I don't think he's got great head movement, I think I said, but what he's got determination, grit, toughness, and he's gonna draw Nikita Tszyu into the trenches if Nikita lets him, and if it gets in the trenches, then don't underestimate Kyle Mazudia. He's a tough guy and backs himself. This is a guy that's been to hell and back. I read an article about him on the weekend, and he's been through a lot in his life. Doesn't take for granted the fact that he's got this opportunity, and never underestimate a fighter who is just gets his chance, because most times, or more often than not, they take that chance. So that's why I can't wait for the fight. I think it's going to be great. I think Nikita wins, but Nicole Mazudia, don't rule him out. All right. I like the father-son duos in boxing, says Tommy, but at what point does the father's attention that he gets from social media and boxing fans in general become a detriment to the son's success? Yeah, it's an interesting comment there, Tommy. And look, the one thing I'll say to that, look, it's obviously that Tim and Nikita, that's where I agree with Michael Zerafa. If their name was Nikita and Tim Smith, they wouldn't be getting the attention they are, but that's not their fault. And it's the same as maybe Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn, lots of different fighters out there with famous fathers, Chavez, of course. But as I said, it's not their fault. And I think Tim especially has handled it really, really well. I think Nikita just recently has shown just a little bit of an edge where he's sick of talking about it. I know he's sick of talking about Michael Zerafa because every single interview that he has been asked about it. And I actually liked what he did in the last couple of days where he actually pulled up the report and said, "Now, hang on a sec. Let's give Kyle Mazudia his due. Let's not disrespect him by continually talking about Michael." I'm really glad that he shut those journos down, because it's pretty obvious what the journos want, what Main Event want, what maybe No Limit want. But I really respect Nikita for saying, hang on a sec, I've got Kyle Mazudia in front of me, and that's all I'm focused on at the moment. Up until now, he's been pretty jovial about the whole thing, and I understand weight cuts probably come into it at the moment too. He's probably a little bit cranky, but I don't blame him for now saying, now just hang on a sec. Let's focus on the Kyle Mazudia fight first. But, yeah, they do get a lot of attention, Tommy, but I think they've both handled it really well so far. Is it detrimental to the son's success? Probably not. As I said, I think Tim has handled it really, really well, and I've got no doubt Nikita will as well. Because once the bell rings, I mean, you can't hide behind social media or your dad's success or whatever it might be, and I think so far both guys have done extremely well. So, all right, we've got a question about Shakur. Where did I see that? There it is. How do you like Shakur signing with Eddie? Yep, I saw that. I saw some things Tank team sent over. I saw some things Tank's team sent over a contract to Shakur, but nothing seems to have come of it. Artem and Cordina coming off losses, not the best competition. Well, this is my argument as well there, Tommy. I can understand that they've just signed. I thought it was a one-fight deal. Reportedly, it is a two-fight deal. I can understand that Eddie Hearn has said, look, to Turki Al-Sheikh, let's get him on the card, but to have him as co-main event, geez, unless Shakur comes with the mindset of really trying to take Cordina out. I mean, are we going to have another snooze fest going into the main event? And you understand how long these cards are. Do we really want to sit through 12 rounds of Shakur Stevenson pity-patting his way to a 12-round decision while we await Better Beeve and Bivol after probably sitting in front of our TVs or computers for 6 hours or 7 hours? Yeah, I'm not sure it's a great decision. No dramas maybe having Shakur Stevenson and Cordina on the undercard, but maybe I would have put our man Jai Pataya as the co-main event. You know what you're going to get with Jai Pataya. He comes to fight, he comes to kill, and I thought he would have been a much better fight than that. All the other heavyweights on the card as well. You know what I'm talking about. There's been that many things I've been over lately. The rematch, you know what I'm talking about. That would have been a lot better, in my opinion. All right, we'll go through. All right, another one from Tommy in regards to Zepeda. With Zepeda spending time with the new baby, hopefully early in 2025, he can get that fight with Shakur. Yeah, I've got a feeling, if I'm being honest, Tommy, I don't think that's the fight that Shakur will want. I think he will look at William Zepeda and think, oh, do I really need this? Someone that's going to fight 3 minutes of every round for 12 rounds, who's not going to give you an opportunity to rest, to fight his own pace. This is the thing with fighters like Shakur Stevenson, fighters like Devin Haney, even back with someone like a Floyd Mayweather. They like to fight at their pace. They like to fight when they want to fight, rest when they want to rest. They like to up the pace when they need to. They just like things on their own terms. And someone like William Zepeda does not give you that option, because he's going to be on his chest for the whole time. So I wouldn't be surprised if Shakur goes down, not the easier route as far as opponent goes, but easier fight for him or easier style is Lomachenko. I know they're looking at Gervonta or Tank Davis for that fight, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is Shakur that actually gets the Lomachenko fight. I know we've got the Eddie and Matchroom up against the top rank situation with Lomachenko. They've got to get through that. But again, money has spoken with Turki Al-Sheikh, so that's probably the fight I would think Shakur would be looking at rather than Zepeda. Zepeda and Tank Davis, for me, that is the fight. What a fight that would be. Tank Davis and Zepeda, wow. Awesome fight. All right, we have old mate Big J. How you going there, mate? What do we got? The fight with the chump is one step closer. This is Jai McAllister we're talking about. As I said before to George Rose, I saw your interview with him today. He loves the idea. Cut some of my promos to build up the fight. Tag you on Instagram. Let's go. Okay. Well, look, Big J, if I'm being honest, mate, it's about time we put up or shut up, I think, in this instance. I don't know whether it's yourself or Jai that aren't coming to the party. You seem to be the instigator. You talk a big game. Now, Jai, if you're in the chat, make sure you respond. Let's get this on one way, or for once and for all, or let's stop talking about it. George, if you're watching, probably not, because he's got some bigger things on his plate this week. Let's make the fight happen so we can all get on with things. All right, we'll keep moving. Old mate Big J's got a couple of comments there. Where did I see it? All right. Excellent presser today. One of the best I've seen for a while. Zerafa looked the fool as usual. Too much profanity. Tommy Brown stole the show. Asked everyone the chump. Got no chance. Yeah, look, I was disappointed in a little bit. And I hate to be continuing the Michael Zerafa bash here. I'll be getting texts and messages soon from supporters or whatever about him. But look, I thought the presser was good. I actually thought Michael Zerafa handled himself really, really well, as did Tommy Brown, up until the point where Michael lost his cool, said, do you want to go? Tommy Brown, of course, he couldn't say no. I mean, it's a bit of a pissing contest, these press conferences. And they went head-to-head, had to be separated. I understand this is what happens these days at press conferences, and that's fine. But I'm with you there, Big J. I wasn't that impressed when they sat down and Michael continued to go with the F-bombs one after the other. You are a professional athlete, Michael. There are women and children and everything in the crowd. I don't like it. You're supposed to be a role model. I understand that the odd one's going to go, and we've even seen, who was it? It might have been Mark Sleeves even let the C-bomb go, which I think is totally inappropriate. Now, I'm not being an old man here, an old fuddy-duddy, whatever. I'm just going by morals, and I understand, fighters do swear, they're warriors and everything else, but I didn't really like when Michael sat down and for probably the next minute or two, every second word was the F-bomb. So I just thought, and you're on national TV, by the way, on Main Event, live press conference, not just Mike, but anyone else, just maybe just be professional. Be professional. That's all we're asking of you. We understand that emotions get high and they do slip out, but I know I'm probably showing my age, but I just don't like it. That's just me personally anyway. But it was a good presser, and I thought Tommy Brown, like you said there, BJ, handled himself really, really well. I didn't think Tommy had it in him, to be honest. I thought he might have just played the opponent role, but I really liked the fact that he was almost offended that he hadn't been spoken about in the 8 weeks or whatever leading up to this fight, and he said that today. It was all about Nikita fighting Michael and everything else, and I really liked what he said. He didn't say it in a hostile way or a disrespectful way. He just stated his case, and I really thought that he did a really good job. Let's hope he can back it up. If I'm being honest, I've got Michael Zerafa winning the fight very, very easily. Excuse me, but I really hope we get a fight. I really do. I'm just looking back to probably the last big fight that Tommy was in, where he got obliterated by Anthony Mundine a few years back. I know he's on a 3-fight winning streak, but I'm not quite sure the caliber of those opponents. But hey, let's hope he fights like he spoke today, because again I thought he did very, very well. Why did I think this was not going to come up? Peter Nutt. Carlton did a Stephen Bradbury. Yes, sort of, Peter. I think you're being a bit harsh there, mate. It was our spot to lose, remember. We didn't just fall into the finals. We earned look, it doesn't matter when you win your games. You've just got to win them over the journey. We won 13 games or something for the year, got ourselves into position. Don't forget, 4 weeks ago, we were second on the ladder. And yes, we sort of fell in at the end, but you looked at, we were second and almost fell out. Fremantle was third and almost fell out. Essendon were second or third. They did fall out. Collingwood, your mob, were third or fourth at one stage. They fell out. So wouldn't call it a Stephen Bradbury though, mate. Yes, we are very, very... It's about time we had a little bit of luck. Your mob did it to us 2 years ago and we didn't have any luck. At least we're very unlucky yesterday. At least we got some luck. Anyway, all right, Peter, still with Big J. It's all about eyeballs and pay-per-views. Yep. Hang on. Going back to Peter, sorry. No Limit would have loved Zerafa today, and people are going to watch the fight hoping he gets beaten. When Zerafa beats Brown, it's going to be a money winner as long as Nikita can win. I'm still to be convinced, if I'm being honest, Peter, that is the fight that the Zoos are going to take. Now, what you got to look at is that Michael Zerafa obviously wants the fight. I would think that Main Event would want the fight. That's a lot of eyeballs on the event. I would think that the media, boxing media, of course, wants it. Boxing fans, I think it's a bit of a mixed bag. But I'm not quite sure No Limit are too fussed about it. I have seen George Rose asked about it a couple of times. He's like, yeah, okay, well, we'll see. We'll see. But I don't think he's actually said it any... Like, he was pressed on it again today, but he did sort of say, yeah, well, okay, we've had a good win. We might see what happens and whatever it might be. But the big factor I can see in this whole thing is I don't think it's a fight that Team Zoo want. Now, it's not because they don't want to fight Michael Zerafa. I just don't think they want to give Michael Zerafa the satisfaction. That's just my gut feel. I've seen the interviews with Glenn Jennings, interviewed him myself on here a couple of times. I've just got the feeling that they, as I said, they don't want to give Michael Zerafa the satisfaction of giving him a payday, giving him a big pay-per-view event. Tim Tszyu especially, he's not looking at Michael Zerafa at all. He's looking big picture. He's looking at Virgil Ortiz, Terence Crawford, Sebastian Fundora. They're the fights he's looking at. He's not looking at Michael Zerafa. He would say, and he did that interview last week, I think it was, where he stated as much. Of course, Michael wasn't very happy about that and said that Michael, was it Mickey Hatton's coming looking for Tim? But anyway, he's got to do what he's got to do to excuse me, to get Tim's attention. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But as far as Nikita goes, yeah, look, I think they might sort of entertain it. But again, you look at Nikita's body language when he's asked about it. I know he's again focusing on Cohen, but I've just got the feeling that Nikita will want to go his own track. Again, he's only had 9. This is going to be his 10th fight. I would think they'll be looking at Michael Zerafa if he's still around in about 18 months' time, or 12 to 18 months' time. I know Michael wants it next, and as I said, maybe the other powers that be want it next. But I've just got a feeling that unless it's absolutely essential and it makes sense for Nikita, or Tim for that matter, I don't think they will fight Michael Zerafa. Just call it a gut feel, and from what I've seen and heard and everything else. So, again, I understand that Michael Zerafa wants his fight. He's 32, hasn't got a lot of time left. So I can understand he's purely and solely just doing everything he possibly can to get the attention of the Zoos, to the point I saw he walk past Nikita at the open workouts and said, "I'm coming for you, boy," or whatever it was. And he talked about it today. But as I said, I'm still to be convinced that is the fight that the Zoos will give Zerafa. And I know Michael's argument, on the other hand, is they need me. Well, I don't necessarily think so. And it comes back to what we've all been talking about. It's the last name. I think if he doesn't fight Michael, or any of those, or either of those guys fight Michael Zerafa, I don't think the Australian boxing public will really give two shits, if I'm being honest. They love the Zoos. And Michael probably to some extent is right when he says that, of course, they are because of the last name and the attention they get and everything else. Well, again, it's not their fault. And they've taken full advantage of it. The Australian boxing public love them, so they're going to do things their way. Unfortunately, Michael is in the case of just having to sit on his hands and just wait and see if they want to fight him. So time will tell. All right, I think we're through most of the comments there. All right, Tommy, what do you think about this Beterbiev Bivol undercard? Fabio fight is solid. That's the fight I was thinking of before. Thanks for that, Tommy. But the rest is showcase fights, in my opinion. Why is Massey, who I don't think is ranked inside the top 10, Opetai's opponent over a Zerdo? Yeah, I wasn't overly enthused, if I'm being honest, Tommy. Yeah, I looked at it and went, there's nothing. Look, of course, it was great to see Jai Opetaia and Sky Nicholson on the card. I mean, that was probably the first thing. But I looked at it and went, geez, that's surprising about Shakur. The Fabio fight, of course, like, okay, well, the first fight was good. That's great. But I must admit, wasn't any other fights on the card I looked at and went, wow, I can't wait for this, and I'll be up at 2 or 3 in the morning to watch the card. None of that, mate. I didn't see any of it. Look, end of the day, if I'm being honest as well, is that I'm only watching for pretty much 2 reasons. That's Beterbiev and Bivol and Jai Opetaia. And yes, we want Sky Nicholson to win, but let's be honest, it's not really going to have fireworks, is it, really? I just hope she wins, and that's great. But I'm looking forward to Jai and then the main event, and that's all I'm really interested in. Still with Tommy. Keyshawn Davis, Gustavo Lemos, who arguably beat Hitchens last fight, is being finalised. I did read something about that somewhere too, Tommy. Lots of up-and-coming talent at 135. Just hope they all fight each other. Some great talent at 135. I'm still to be convinced with Keyshawn Davis, if I'm being honest though, Tommy. I've said I'm being honest a lot tonight, haven't I? Sorry about that. Look, that'll be a good fight, Davis and Lemos. But again, I'm not overly impressed so far with Keyshawn Davis. I think there's some other better prospects out there rather than Davis. I wasn't that impressed by his last fight, but yeah, that fight will be a good test of where Keyshawn Davis is. G'day, Lyndon. My beloved Port Adelaide, Daniel Mob was solid yesterday. Yes, Eminem, we've got the power to win. The Blue Boys have, mate. So thank you to Port Adelaide. As I said earlier, if we can't win it, I hope you guys do. And I was barracking my ass off yesterday for Port Adelaide, and the despair of getting beaten by St Kilda was quickly put to rest by your mob winning. Glenn, evening, mate. Zerafa is a dick. Okay. More of a statement rather than a question there, mate. But hey, that's your prerogative. Yeah, well, look, he definitely polarizes people, doesn't he, Michael Zerafa? Look, I thought he was actually okay today, except for his little outburst at the end. But overall, I thought he was okay. Where was Glenn Rushton? I think he was a bit late to the party, wasn't he? I didn't know that Glenn was actually his trainer. I know, of course, he was part of the team as a consultant. I didn't know he was actually his trainer. So let's see how they go in the corner on Wednesday night. Garden Snake Mentality. They want $90 American for Canelo Belunga pay-per-view. Who's paying that? I did a video about this the other day, Garden Snake, and I think it equated to 134 Australian dollars. So that was my point in my video the other day. What do you guys think about that? We jump up and down that we're paying $70 for an Australian pay-per-view, but that particular fight would be $134. Now, it's probably only going to be $50 here in Australia, but again, we're only an afterthought here for the people or the promoters putting that fight on. And I'm not quite sure how many. Would you pay $70 or $80 for a Canelo fight? I'm not sure, or maybe not for this particular one, but it's an interesting one there, mate. But yeah, $90 is a lot of money, a hell of a lot of money. Hanoi Tripper, how are you there, mate? Do you think Nikita has a high ceiling to be like Tim on world stage? Oh, good question, Hanoi. Look, at this stage, I would have reservations. I'm a big fan of Nikita. I think he has all the tools. The issue I have with him is he hasn't been able to really put those lesser lights away. Or not so much not that he hasn't been able to put them away. That's probably not what I'm trying to say. It's he struggled in certain areas against fighters that maybe he shouldn't. Now, maybe, again, he's only had 9 fights. I'm sure after 9 fights or 10 fights, Tim might have had his flaws as well, but I think Nikita has the potential. He just needs to clean up, I think, firstly, his defense, because when he gets rocked or under pressure or is under the pump, he's not, he doesn't really know, this is just, again, my opinion, doesn't really know how to hold and clinch and get his faculties back. He tends to try and fight out of it, which then opens him up for more punches. So I think they really need to work on that. I'm sure they have been, but at the moment, Hanoi Tripper, if I was going to have an opinion, yes or no, I would probably say no. But I hope I'm proven wrong, because I think he's great for the sport. He's definitely a little bit out there, isn't he, Nikita? And he's great for Australian boxing and hopefully for world boxing. But at this stage, I think he's still got a fair way to go. A fair way to go. Sam Brendan out with bicep tear. Thanks for clarifying that, mate. I'm surprised they couldn't get Jackson Murray another fight, because he's been off the card for must be a couple of weeks now, isn't it? So, and they filled that spot with Billy Polkinghorne, who's another very, very good fighter as well. So there's Andy in the chat. How are you there, mate? Eminem says, every time Zerafa speaks, I cringe. Look, I think he's embraced the whole villain thing now. He seems to not. It's like I think he understands and has accepted his role in Australian boxing and maybe even world boxing. But I think he doesn't seem as flustered now as what he has in the past when he gets criticised. Doesn't stop him from getting his knickers in a bit of a bunch every now and then when people do criticise him. But I thought today he spoke very, very well. And even when he was asked about, with the whole Tszyu situation, he just sort of shrugged his shoulders and just said, well, that's the way it is. I'm the villain and blah, 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 blah. So, and again, apart from the little argy-bargy with Tommy Brown, I thought he actually spoke quite well. He was a bit cringy in that interview. Maybe it was a stage bit with that boxing journal. Yeah, look, maybe Hanoi, I got no doubt that, look, obviously from his point of view, he's trying to talk himself or talk the powers that be into the Tszyu fight. You're not getting a lot of feedback from Tim, Nikita, or Glenn, and even to that point, no limit. But you got to do what you got to do, and I think that's the thing about Aussies at the moment. While some of it is a bit cringeworthy, I think we've found that you have to talk yourself into a lot of these fights. I know Cohen did with Nikita. Maybe Michael would get the chance with Tim. Nikita, and maybe Tim. Who knows? Just think back to the Lara fight, says Glenn. That was the worst attempt at a world title by an Australian I've ever seen, ever. Yeah, look, it wasn't the greatest performance, Glenn. Look, I think the thing is with it all, though, like him or not, or love him or hate him, whatever it might be, the fact is he got the shot. He went to Las Vegas. He put it all on the line. Yes, the performance was not great. There's no way you can sugarcoat it. He got blown out in 2 rounds. But what's the worst attempt? Yeah, look, that's your opinion. But yeah, I think end of the day, the fact that he was actually in there, you got to give him some credit for that. But yeah, I don't think. And look, the only thing I will take out of that, though, all the results aside, because end of the day, Lara, he's obviously a credible champion and everything else. But the only probably or issue I had with the whole thing is when he came home after that fight, I would have maybe expected just a little bit of more humbleness and maybe eating a little bit of that humble pie. But instead, he jumps straight into slagging off the Tszyu boys. And I think that's what's got a lot of people offside even more. And that's probably a little bit why I was taken aback with, mate, you've just been blown out in 2 rounds and you're coming back and you're behaving like you won that fight or lost a split decision. So that was probably my little sort of issue with it. And that's probably why, again, I did that video a few weeks back about sort of rebuffing a little bit of what Michael Zerafa has said. But on the other hand, what I've got to say is that this is a business. He wants the big fights. He's 32 years of age. So he's got to do what he's got to do. I don't begrudge him at all for doing his absolute best. I joked on my video this morning that, the Tszyu boys have got to look out or shut the blinds of the window, or, they might look out and see Michael Zerafa peeking in the window because he's just that obsessed with him at the moment. But again, I get it. He wants that fight. He seems obsessed with it at the moment. And let's just see whether he gets that fight. I think he should stay well away from Tim, if I'm being completely honest about the whole thing. Nikita's probably a different thing, but as I said earlier, I just don't think after 9 or 10 fights, that's the fight they're going to want, because Nikita might not be ready, and 2, they don't want to give Zerafa a big payday and a big pay-per-view. But we'll see. There's Carl. How are you there, mate? Hope you're good. Yes, I'm very good, thanks. Well, better after the footy yesterday. Yep. And the Storm one as well. So well done to the Storm. I didn't mention them. Mizudio would be Nikita's toughest test. Tend to agree, Carl. I tend to agree. Paul Michael Craig, how you going? Pampellone, Wallace, who you got? Good question. I was waiting for this one to be brought up. Look, I'm going to go with Connor Wallace, but not with a lot of confidence. Jerome Pampellone is a very, very good fighter. Thought he was, I was going to say exposed a little bit in his last fight. Certainly no disgrace losing to Malik Zinat. Who was it? Malik Zinat, or whatever his name was. So, look, I'm going to go for Connor Wallace in a tight one. I think it'll be a really, really good fight. In my opinion, it should be the co-main. But again, I understand why they've got Nikita and then Michael Zerafa underneath. But yeah, it should be a ripper there, Paul. Carl says, poor Mick Zerafa can't catch a break, can he? He's getting roasted at the press conference. Yeah, you're right. Even the fans are starting to get stuck into him at the press conference. The fighters are getting stuck into him. Yeah, poor old. Even Glenn Rushton stood him up. But no, look, I got no dramas with him doing what he's doing, because look, he has to get those big fights. And there's no way he's going to get those fights if he sits back and compliments Tim or Nikita or anyone else on the card. He's got to do it the old-fashioned way, and that's to get Team Tszyu rolled up enough that they sign on the dotted line. But again, I just can't see how it all fits. Tim is not even considering Michael Zerafa, and Nikita might not be at the stage of his career where he's ready, willing, or able to take that fight. So, but again, I don't begrudge him for trying. All right, after Inoue beats Doheny, don't you think a Nick Ball or Ray Vargas at 126 is a better next fight for him than Sam Goodman? 100% it is, Garden Snake. The issue is he's made no announcement that he wants to go to 126, and I don't begrudge him. This is a guy that came up, was it super flyweight I think he might have come up from, or at least flyweight. So I think it's okay for us fans to want him to go to 126, but he's also got to look at it and go, well, I don't want to go to 126. I'm comfortable at 122. You've got to remember, in days gone by, I know Manny Pacquiao, and to some extent, Mayweather, De La Hoya, a few of the others have gone through the divisions. Some of the greatest fighters of all time have never left their divisions. And I think fighters like Marvelous Marvin Hagler, classic example. So I'm not all for him going to 126 if he doesn't. He's already been, 3 or 4 time world champion. So I've got no issue if he wants to stay at 122. And if he thinks 126 might just be a a hurdle too far. Having said that, I've got no doubt probably at some stage he will, but at least when it suits him. I would love to see him in with a Nick Ball or Ray Vargas. I think he demolishes Ray Vargas, if I'm being honest. Nick Ball definitely comes to fight, but I think Inoue would have a bit too much for him as well. So maybe he just doesn't want to go because there's nothing there for him. But Sam Goodman, yeah, it looks like he's going to be next, doesn't he? I think they're talking about December or early in 2025, so we'll see. But yeah, we'll certainly see there, mate. But I'm certainly not in a in line, banging my fist on the table, wanting him to go to 126. Could Nikita and or Tim earn bigger bucks if the dad got them deals in Russia or a better promoter? Well, the problem is, though, Hanoi, is that obviously they can't do anything in Russia at the moment. They'd have to fight overseas. I'm not sure. Look, to be honest with you, with the current situation in the world at the moment, I think if they were in that situation where they were in Russia with a promoter or whatever, would they be blacklisted? They'd have to relocate anyway. You look at some of the other Russian fighters that have relocated all over. Who was it? Beterbiev is in Canada. He's listed as a Canadian. Bivol is listed as a American or Californian or whatever it might be. So good in sort of theory, but I suppose the facts of the matter are that just wouldn't work for them at the moment because, as I said, they'd be blacklisted anyway. Yes, Carl, hit the like button, please. It all helps, so keep them coming. I think we're over 1,500 subscribers now, so thank you to everyone that has subscribed. Keep them coming. All right, Andy, glad Tommy Brown said what he said in the presser. Basically, don't look past what's in front of you now. I do have Zerafa. Love or hate Mick, he's playing a role to get fights. Controversy sells. Yep, it does. And that's probably the one thing he has now openly embraced, Andy. He said himself, now he's the bad guy, and without me, there's no events, there's no controversy. So you got to do what you got to do. And, it worked for Anthony Mundine. Is it going to work for Michael Zerafa? I've got a feeling, at the time, Anthony Mundine was such, well, I suppose, would you call him hated? A lot of people didn't like him and his views and all that sort of stuff. But I think deep down they had that respect for him. I've just got a feeling that the hate for Michael is legit from a lot of boxing fans. And whether you agree with it or not, I'm not going to get into that. But he certainly has alienated a lot of people. But at the end of the day, they all want to see him probably get knocked out. So they're going to tune in. So they might bag him, but they're still going to pay to watch him. So that's all he probably cares about in the end. And ultimately, that fight with Tim, it would be a massive grudge fight, wouldn't it? Him and Tim, but again, I just don't think it's going to happen. Anyone know why the Nikita versus Mazzudia fight isn't for the 154-pound Australian title? I've got a feeling he might have given that belt up, Eminem. It's definitely not up for grabs, is it? I think it's for a WBO ranking, I think. And it might be for an IBF title or something like that. But as far as, Colin Mazzudia today didn't know whether it was up for grabs or it wasn't. So he obviously... he's not too stressed about titles and all that sort of stuff, but it's an interesting one, but I don't know, Eminem. I have no idea. But as far as I can probably think, is it because it's for a world ranking? Maybe that's why they've said the Australian title can't be up for grabs. I don't know. Is there any way you can watch Carlton Brisbane when you are in the States? Yes, Damien. There is a way. I have Surfshark. It's the... what is it? The VPN app costs about $20 a year or something like that. Might be a little bit less than that, but I can disguise where I am in the world, so I can put that I'm in Melbourne, and I'll be able to watch that game on Foxtel. Much as I hope they're not watching at the moment. Doubt they are, but so that's why I'm going to watch it, Damien. And there's a tip for anyone else that's overseas: just get the VPN, whether it's Surfshark or there's a few different ones out there anyway. You can disguise where you are in the world, your IP address. Or you can pick what comes up. So my address is going to show that I'm still in Melbourne, doing the right thing, watching it on Foxtel. Still with Damien, not having Jai as a co-main is insane. I agree. Yep. Shakur Stevenson is the main. We've got to sit through, look, as I said before, I've been sitting there for 6 hours or whatever it has, or 5-6 hours, whatever it's going to be. And then we've got to sit through a Shakur Stevenson 12-round fight. Oh my God. That's going to not be great. Andy, the Nikita versus Cohen part was good. No need for disrespect. Two guys who love to fight, ready to give us a show. Should be a good night of Aussie boxing. I loved it too, Andy. I really thought both guys were great. I thought both were very respectful to each other. And look, and that probably highlights again, you don't need to have the push and shove and slagging each other off and swearing at each other and carrying on like idiots. Just be respectful, say what needs to be said, and I think that you'll get the following and you'll get eyeballs on the event. I like Cohen, he said, look, I've got full respect for Nikita, but I'm going in there to punch his head in. I mean, you can't be any more straight down the line than that. I'm a big fan of Cohen, and I think, I hope he does really well on Wednesday. I think Nikita wins the fight, but Cohen's one of the good guys of the sport, and let's hope he puts up a really good show on Wednesday, which I'm sure he will. G'day, Kane. How are you there, mate? What's that? Is that the Pairs? I don't know who that is. Go the Pairs. All right. Maybe elaborate on that one. All right. Tommy, I didn't mean Tszyu. I was actually talking about Bill Haney, Tszyu. Oh, okay. This is about, okay. Tszyu's dad types of the world. Kid Austin's dad has been all over YouTube arguing with the content creators, becoming more popular than his son. Oh, okay. Well, on that, 100% okay to discuss that, Tommy. I hate when the fathers of boxers put themselves above their sons. It's all about them. Like you said there, they're on YouTube arguing. They're at press conferences, pretty much taking over. I don't like it. And I think if I was a fighter, a pro fighter, I had my dad around, I'd probably say, Dad, can you please just stay out of it? Support me, help train me, whatever it might be. But when it comes to the press conferences and weigh-ins and all that sort of stuff, can you just maybe chill and stay in the background? I know they get pretty emotional about their sons. I understand that, but it just puts their son in a bad light, if you ask me. Shakur Stevenson versus Joe Cordina and Jai Pataya, Jack Massey as showcase events on the Turkey card. Yeah, well, they're sort of showcase events, aren't they, Carl? Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, Shakur's, let's hope that he tries to come and maybe be a little bit more exciting. I got no doubt Jack Massey is a showcase fight for Jai. I did speak to Mick Francis a couple of weeks ago, and he did mention that Jack Massey was going to be the opponent. I sort of sensed that he was thinking the same thing, that it's just to get Jai another really good win. Jack Massey will be tough, don't get me wrong. He'll come to fight. But I think the whole card, look, it's just, you look at some of the previous Saudi cards, and you look at them, there's been so many 50-50 fights. I look at that card, and I think they're all just pretty easy to pick, apart from the main event. I think they're all very, very easy to pick. And I hope it's just a one-off, but let's just hope this is not the norm going forward where this happens. This is what can happen when you have someone with a monopoly. They tend to lose their edge, and all of a sudden you're getting these showcase fights without these 50-50 events. It's always a danger when you have one entity in charge of one organisation or one sport, and let's hope this is not a case of things to come. Luke, late to the party. Please tell someone has torn Zerafa to shreds. Yeah, there's been a few comments on him, Luke. And look, he said himself, you're all talking about me, you're all commenting on me, and you'll all watch me on Wednesday. So we can all sit on here and talk about him, but he's got the last laugh, hasn't he? All right, Damien, are you planning the boxing deep dive tour next May for Canelo, or you'll wait and see? It might be over in Vegas in mid-April for WrestleMania. Okay. I'm thinking about staying longer for May 5th weekend. Yeah, well, that's Cinco de Mayo weekend. Haven't decided yet, Damien. At this stage, it'll be May. Yes, it'll be May for the Canelo Cinco de Mayo weekend, but depends on what other fights come up. Could be Tim over there. Who knows? Could be George Cambosa. I don't know. I'm purposely not booking my flights again. I learned from this time. I almost got caught my pants down with not having a fight to go to. Actually leaving next Tuesday, I think. So I'm not going to do that again. But at this stage, Damien, May will be on the cards for the deep dive tour. So start saving your coins, guys, because if you want to come with me, you're going to need about $5,000 plus spending money at least. So there you go. Damien, that presser was awesome. Tszyu willing to cut off a testicle. His dedication. He's definitely out there, isn't he, Nikita? I think Cohen might have mentioned that in one of the press conferences or one of the interviews or something the other day, and I think Nikita just ran with it. But he did say he's making the weight okay. Last time he had a few issues. It was made it was almost made out though that he was lying half dead in a sauna somewhere trying to make weight, but I think they just miscalculated his last bit of the weight cut. But he did say today that he'd done the weight pretty easily. Because there were reports that he'd asked for, was it 1.5 kilos, or was that 3.5 pounds to put towards Cohen Mazudia, but they've said no. And apparently Cohen's trainer is pretty stringent in the weight thing, and if he's 1 pound over tomorrow, they will cut. Well, they won't fight. Sorry, yes, tomorrow, isn't it? They won't fight. So let's see. Luke says, can we talk about Sky ducking Tiara Brown? Well, that's a good point you bring up there, Luke. I'm glad we've sort of brought up something other than Michael Zerafa tonight. But, yeah, look, I suppose when you look at it, Luke, you can't really argue that she's not. Look, I think it's not necessarily Sky ducking Tiara Brown. I think it might be her team who are just going to try and maybe string out the Tiara Brown fight as long as they can. It's just, I think, a little bit ironic or hypocritical when you think about it that Sky is calling out Amanda Serrano but won't give Tiara Brown her mandatory shot at the title. Who knows? After this one, she might get that crack. But I'm pretty sure this is Sky's second voluntary in a row. So, but when you're on a card this size, it's a Saudi event. I would think that the WBC will just sit down and shut up and let them remember, what's his name? Turki Al-Sheik's part of the gang now. So he would probably say the WBC, and Eddie Hearn, of course, will say, yeah, we'll fight Tiara Brown when we feel like it. But this is a Saudi card, so we'll fight who we want. The WBC, being the WBC, we'll just bend over and take it. So, but I'm with you there, Luke. I'm not going to call it a duck yet unless Sky fights her next. Okay, again, this could be that showcasing fight for Sky on this card. I think it's her first shot on a Saudi card, I think. And we haven't really spoken about that either, really. That Sky, this is a women's fight on a Saudi card. First one ever, I think, from memory. And it has been a real talking point that the Saudis haven't got behind the women. So this is, again, as far as I know, the first female fight. But if she doesn't fight her next, Luke, then 100% we can talk about Sky just saying, well, you know, you are maybe ducking Tiara Brown. I thought Turkey only made big cards. Well, that's what he said, Carl. And that is, again, I suppose the downside and the fear that if Turki Al-Sheikh and the Saudis get full control over boxing, will the quality drop off? Maybe it will. It's obviously, it could happen. I mean, it's one thing to build or get control of these. You've got to put on the best fights after the best fights. But after a while, complacency's got to be a factor. And this may be the first crack in the armor. Who knows? Let's hope I'm wrong. But it's not a great card. I'm more looking forward to the Winwood fight on Saturday. Is that this Saturday or the one after, Mutzi? I thought it was the one after. September 7th, I think it is. So that'll be the week after. But I'm with you there, mate. I can't believe I'm going to miss that. Although I'll probably be able to watch that on the 7+ app over in America. So I'm going to love that. But I'm with you there, mate. I'm really hoping Alex can bring the title home. He's a great guy. He's look, I was going to say earned his shot. Probably not earned. He's had 4 fights, but his team have done a great job in securing him this fight. And I think he wins the belt, becomes our 3rd male world champion and our 6th overall. And we might have another couple later in the year. So, again, Australian boxing is booming at the moment. So, all the best to Alex Winwood in that fight. It is on 7+ on Saturday, the 7th of September. He's a little fella. Yeah, he is, Carl. I think I've said on here before, we hung out a bit with him in Stockton last year, and there's not much of him. There's not much of him at all. I thought, you look at the Maloney's, especially Andy, who his fights at 115. He's tiny, while Alex Winwood's even smaller than Andy. So, but geez, he can punch. He's an explosive little guy, and I think he gets a job done on the 7th. Did you watch Floyd sparring the exhibition? Yep, I've purchased all Mayweather pay-per-views from the 2000s until the Logan Paul fight yesterday was the last exhibition I'll even pirate so bad. I didn't watch 1 second of it, Damien. Didn't really know it was sort of happening until only a few days ago, if I'm being honest. Look, Floyd, I got no dramas with Floyd doing what he's doing. No issue whatsoever, because he's made no secret in saying that they are exhibitions. He hasn't said they're real fights or whatever. He said, look, they're exhibitions. I'm going to fight these guys. Pay for it if you want. If you don't, you don't. Then who really cares? So, look, good on him. I think he said he's got 3 to go, and then he'll call it a day. I think he's, 47 now? Still looks in great nick. I got no idea the guy he fought, John Gotti the third or whatever the hell he is. I don't know what his background is or whatever. Probably apart from being a gangster, of course. But I'm a big fan of Floyd. I'm not a big fan of what he's doing at the moment, but good luck to him. So you're a long time retired, so he's probably making good money out of it, so why not? What's that? If you guys lost, it would have been 9, 10, 11. Carlton, Collingwood, Essendon, image that. I hope you do. Imagine that. I hope you do well. Yeah. Well, at one stage, Carlton, I think Carlton, Collingwood, and Essendon were 2, 3, and 4 on the ladder. And about 6 weeks later, there were 9, 10, and 11 on the ladder. So, all right, Carl, Zerafa is dreaming. Well, we'll see. Eddie Berrier, how are you, Eddie? Zerafa is too disrespectful to get the chance. Yeah, well, that's what I said before, Eddie. I've got a feeling that Team Tszyu looking at that saying, I'm not going to give him a shot. We don't have to. We run our own race. And I just think maybe Michael has sort of got a little bit of that feeling as well, which means he's turned the dial up to 11 at the moment. I think he started at about 7 or 8, and now we're up to about 11. Let's just see if he wipes out Tommy Brown on Wednesday night. I think you can turn it up to a 12 after that, if that's possible. So I think he will really take the opportunity to lay into the Tszyu and try and get people talking about that fight. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's been disrespectful, but I was going to say, I don't think I know that Team Tszyu would prefer not to give Michael Zerafa a chance. Tim versus Zerafa should have happened when it was supposed to. Tim at that moment is too far forward to be looking back at Mick. Win over Murtazaliev, unification ASAP definitely makes most sense. Yeah, no, you're right, Andy. The only way that a Tim and Zerafa fight happens now, if Tim happens to lose that fight, then I think he would come back to Australia and say, okay, well, the Zerafa fights makes a lot of sense. I think it's obviously an extremely winnable fight for Tim. I don't think many of us think that Michael would have much of a chance, except Michael, and good luck to him. But it would be a big money fight. It would get him back into the world scene again, I suppose. But that's the only way that fight happens, if you ask me, is if Tim happens to lose to Murtazaliev and then comes back. So we'll see. We'll see. But you're right. It should have happened. Look, there's all sorts of things that have been said about why it didn't happen. But I'll just keep looking back. I know Michael said he had bad advice, whatever it might have been, but I just keep looking at that. There were other fighters from interstate on the card that night, and there were overseas fighters on the card that night. And we couldn't get Michael from Melbourne to Newcastle. That's the only thing for me that doesn't make sense. I understand he might have got bad advice or whatever it might have been, but I'm curious about that when I think about it. That why wouldn't have No Limit said, mate, Michael, listen to me. We've got the guy coming over from the Philippines. He's coming. He's able to get in no drama. We've got fighters and trainers, commentators. We had Barry Michael come from Melbourne for the show that night. Wouldn't they have said, we can get you there, don't panic. Get on, we'll get you and Barry Michael and whoever else to come over together, and we've got the overseas guys coming. Don't worry about it. I'm really intrigued why they didn't point those facts out to Team Zerafa at the time. And then if he still decided to pull out, well, I suppose that is on Michael Zerafa. But surely at some stage, the Rose brothers would have said to Michael Zerafa, mate, you realise that we've got overseas fighters and interstate fighters coming in. What's the problem? So, I don't know. I suppose we'll never know. Luke, you can't tell me No Limit are giving Zerafa to try... giving him to make the biggest domestic fight they can, but he's really starting to make himself look a goose. Go to bed, mate. Hope he's not watching tonight. I doubt he is. I don't think he's a fan of this channel, but if he is, then, mate, come on here and have your say. Shit, Tommy, didn't see that comment, but I agree. Showcase event. Yeah, it is. This is the Saudi card. Are the women on the Saudi card going to have to compete in full bodysuits like when we go there? Good question, Damien. Very, very good question. I'm surprised. Look, until I said before, it went straight over my head that the girls are actually on the card, because that has been one of the major criticisms of the Saudi cards. There's been no women fights, and now we have one in Saudi Arabia. So it's a good question, Damien. Let's see. Hanoi Tripper. Oh, yeah. The Blues, mate. I was so pissed off at the Saints, then watch Port. Thanks, Port. I've forgiven you for beating the Lions in 04, denying all fans a four-peat historical event. Well, I'm a Port Adelaide fan, Hanoi, unless we play the Power in the finals. I'm 100% on board with the mighty Port Power. As I said, if we can't win it, then I hope they do. Kyle, if I hear another fool crying about Sky ducking Tiara Brown, I'm going to scream. Okay. Ravens easily the harder fight, a pure 50-50. The UK and Queenslanders are going crazy for this fight, the fight to make. Well, here's the champion for women's boxing. So thanks, Kyle, for giving us another perspective of that. Good call. Got it. It's why it's an open forum. Everyone can have their say. But, okay, well, look, if I'm being honest, Kyle, I think Tiara Brown is a riskier fight than Raven, but it's your opinion, and that's fine. Again, I don't think it's really Sky's decision to fight Raven. I think it would be the powers that be go, okay, we need a credible opponent who ticks the boxes, all the rest of it, and we're going to go with her. But let's hope Tiara Brown's next, Kyle, at least. All right, the price for the Canelo pay-per-view hasn't been released here yet, but the Munguia fight was $70, so I'm expecting that. Yep. $40 maximum for this Belunga fight. Anymore, it's getting pirated. I think it'll be entertaining though, Damien. I think it might surprise you how good a fight it is. I think Canelo will just have target practice at Edgar Belunga. I think he'll just let Belunga come to him, look for the holes, and just make him pay. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But either way, it's another big pay-per-view, and that's all I care about. But yeah, I'd say about 50. Was it? Is that right? $70? I didn't know that. I thought it was $50. But there you go. So you're paying just as much for Canelo as you are for Nikita Tszyu. Did you check? What's that? Did you get to check out Kamel Moulton yesterday on that awful Floyd card? It was a shocker. I'm fine with the way they're moving him. He's a young 18, but maybe a little step up. The kid looks like the goods, though. He definitely looks the goods, Tommy. I think he's going to be a hell of a young fighter. Look, at 18, I don't have any problem with him maybe feeding him 10 or 12 absolute gimmies. Even 15 or 20 even. Get him to maybe 21 years old, and he's had maybe 20 to 20, maybe not that much. When he's maybe 21, 22 years old, have maybe 20 fights under his belt, and then really look to step him up after that. But no rush, 18 years old. I think he'll be a very, very good young fighter, mate. Kyle, do we know what is going on with Brock Jarvis? Nikita's giving him some good publicity, but doesn't seem to be active. Yeah, it's an interesting one, Kyle. No, I don't know exactly. I've heard rumours, but from what I've seen on social media, he is training. I think he might be in Thailand or somewhere at the moment by the looks of things. Looks like he's in good nick. Looks like he's training hard. If it's not Nikita, it's Isaac Hardman wanting a bit of Brock. So I wouldn't be surprised if Brock Jarvis is next for Nikita. Although having said that, he hasn't fought for a while. You would think they might want him to have maybe one fight. This undercard would have been great to get him on, so maybe he might not be next. But yeah, I can't answer that, Cole. But from what all the counts from what I've seen, he's in full training and looks in good nick. So I'm sure we won't be long before we see him again. Keep in mind, Nikita had like 20 to 30 amateur fights as a kid. Took at least 5 to 6 years off, then got back into it. Needs time to develop. Yeah, he does. I think he might have had a little, like a few more than 20 or 30. Jack, it might have been 40 or 50 or something like that. I remember seeing him fight in Perth. The Nationals over there, thinking, wow, this kid has got it all. He's a little bit different as an amateur. He's more of a boxer, sharpshooter type of fighter. In the pros, he seems to be more that puncher. But he had 8 years off, Jack. So no, that's probably what I'm getting at. That's why I have no issues with him whatsoever. Saying, well, we don't need Michael Zerafa. We don't need him at all. We've got our own path for Nikita. I don't think the boxing public would care if he doesn't fight Michael Zerafa. The only ones that really would is Main Event, of course, because of the dollars. I think they're going to just continue the path with Nikita, get him to fight maybe 4 times a year over the next 2 years. What will they get him up to about 18 fights, and then maybe chuck him in the deep end and let's see what he's got. I think at least 12 to 18 months though before I think he fights anyone of real any note. They might dip the toe in the water with maybe a fringe top 15 to 20 type of opponent in another 12 months time, but I wouldn't be surprised if for the next 12 to 18 months they just keep giving him the local fighters. And I did see the other Russian today. What's his name? The one that lost to Wade Ryan is put the challenge out to him as well. So he's going to have no shortage of guys to fight anyway. Tommy, I hope Floyd doesn't move Kamel like he did with Tank. Yeah, he didn't do a great job with Tank, did he, Tommy? Let's hope that he's learnt from Tank and puts Kamel on the right track. What the hell is everyone's problem with Zerafa when we have these race-baiting dipshits in America sucker punching people at events and beating up women? Good point, Damien. Yeah, I know you're probably assuming to Devin Haney there. He lashed out and punched a carny. Look... Yeah, my only issue with him, Damien, was the fact that coming off the fight with Lara is that he wasn't. I suppose it's just my opinion. He wasn't humble enough, if you ask me. I've got no drama. I back up what you're saying there. Apart from that, I don't think he's done anything wrong except try and get his career on track and get the big fights. I got no issue with that, but I was a little bit offended on behalf of the Zoos, especially Tim, that he came back after being demolished in 2 rounds and had a fair bit to say and has had a lot to say about Tim. I just would have thought maybe he would have eaten a little bit of humble pie for starters, wait till they got a win or 2 under his belt, and then see the Michael Zerafa we're seeing now. But that was probably my only issue. But again, I have no dramas with him trying to drum up interest in a Zoo fight, whether it's Nikita or Tim. So good on him. Mike Tyson will pay for his crimes on November 12th when Jake takes his head off. Well, I'm sure there'll be a few comments on that one there, Garden Snake. I've got to agree. I'm with you. I think that Jake Paul wins that fight with Mike Tyson. I know we've seen all the social media stuff with Mike Tyson looking good, but we've only seen bits and pieces, 10 seconds here, 15 seconds there. And don't get me wrong, by the way, I hope Mike Tyson goes out there and does take Jake Paul's head off, if I'm being honest. But I think that, I just think after a round or 2 rounds, I just think that Jake Paul, as limited as he is, certainly not going to win it on skill and technique and everything like that. He's just going to win it because Mike Tyson's just going to run out of steam. And Jake Paul, I think, I don't think he'll stop him. I think the agreement or whatever it might be, or the deal between the two, we'll see. Not going to say they're deciding who's going to win, but I've got a feeling that there's a bit of a handshake agreement that it's going to go the distance. So I would think that Jake takes Mike Tyson the 8 rounds and wins on points. I hate to see it because you know what's going to happen afterwards. Jake Paul, I just beat one of the best heavyweights of all time. I must be one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. You can just see it. Wow. Peter, I'm not a huge Zerafa fan, but 100% he beats Nikita. He's a level above Nikita, who is way too easy to hit. Well, at the moment, he's easy to hit, Peter. You got to look at styles, though. And as I said earlier, I just haven't... Again, I'm not trying to lay the boots into Michael Zerafa here, but I'm just saying I just haven't seen anything from Michael, apart from maybe the win over Isaac Hardman, that would give me any reason to think he beats Nikita. I can't see it. And I know he's got the experience, and I know he's had those big fights overseas, but he's come up short in all those fights. Look, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not going to argue with you about if Zerafa beats him. I just think, in my opinion, that I think Nikita, even though he's only had the 9 or 10 fights, I still think he would beat Michael Zerafa. But anyway, again, just opinions. Hope Mike Tyson rewinds the clock and puts Jake Paul to sleep. I'm with you there, Andy. I agree that Zerafa is embracing the villain role, but while some talk all the shit at presses, they usually come down to earth in interviews and show some level of down-to-earth realism and humility. Yeah. Well, let's see after the fight, Sam. Let's hope Zerafa and Tommy Brown hug it out. I don't think they will, to be honest. I've got a feeling that Tommy Brown isn't real interested, no matter what happens, in giving Michael Zerafa an embrace. But I've got a feeling that Michael Zerafa, he'll be professional afterwards. I think he'll forgive and forget with Tommy Brown. He realises it's a business and you got to talk these fights up. It's definitely got us all talking about him, hasn't it? But I've got a feeling he'll be okay after the fight. I've got a feeling Tommy Brown won't. But let's just hope he calls. No doubt he will call out Nikita. I mean, or Tim. Surely that's going to happen. But let's just hope he does it with a little bit of respect. But let's see. Maybe he'll get stuck into them even more, and the crowd will boo and carry on. But they're all going to go home and go, "Geez, I can't wait till Nikita or Tim gets hold of Zerafa," which is exactly what he wants. So hey, good on him. Is Mick Chinny? No, I don't think so. I know he has been KO'd a couple of times. The Peter Quillen fight was 9 years ago. Just think he got hit really squarely and well by Erislandy Lara. I don't think he's chinny. I think he can take an okay shot. But yeah, again, let's see if he gets that opportunity against the Zoo boys. If this is Tim's last fight with PBC, what would you what would you like him to do next? Do you think PBC has done right by Tim? Well, the thing is, Tommy, he might want to stick with PBC because if the whole Turkey LL Sheikh thing continues the way it is, and he's on that list of about 4 or 5 fighters that's been blacklisted, maybe he mightn't have a choice but to be with PBC. I've got a feeling that when the time comes and a Tim Tszyu fight versus one of the Saudi fighters makes sense, I think all will be forgiven and forgotten. They'll have a group hug and they'll all just get on with it. I don't buy into the whole thing that Tim's been blacklisted. I think that Turkey Al Sheikh's is a little bit pissed with him at the moment and has probably said, well, that's it for you. But I think calmer heads will prevail if a fight, let's just say it's Terence Crawford or Virgil Ortiz or someone like that, and they want Tim's belt, I guarantee you they'll smoke the peace pipe and get on with the job. But have they done right with him so far? I think so. Tim could have easily said no to fighting Sebastian Fundora. They wanted the fight. PBC could have just cancelled the whole card when you think about it. When the Thurman and Tim fight fell over, they could have easily have just said, that's it. Too much drama with this card, we're going to pull it. But they kept the card on, offered in the Fundora fight. Tim, of course, took it, so credit to him. But yeah, no, I think they've done okay with him so far. But we'll see what happens down the track. If this is, it looks like he signed another 3-fight deal. Okay, is this about Tim? I'm assuming there, Carl. Eminem, silly me, paid for the Floyd Cotty fight, and wow, was it boring. Was glad to see Kamel Moten fight, albeit for under a minute. 55 seconds, Eminem. You paid $35 for that. Now, Eminem, please don't give me anything about paying $70 for this Wednesday night's fight when you've just paid $35 for that crap. Please. Let's hope you're not one of those people that are jumping up and down about $70. Because look, I've gone over this in the past anyway. If you go to the pub and watch it, it costs you nothing. Go there and have a counter meal and a beer. Might cost you still about $40. But anyway, better than 70, or get some mates over to watch it. $70 I don't think is a lot of money to pay. Just my opinion. If you've got a few mates. I understand cost of living and everything at the moment. If you've got to buy it yourself, I get that. Or if you want to make a stand, I get that as well. But I just don't think $70 is a lot of money in the scheme of things for cards like this. And it keeps the Australian scene going. Carl says, Glenn Jennings said they're happy with PBC. Yep. For all accounts, they are. Carl? I'm with you there, Carl. You seriously paid for that, says Carl. Yeah, it's $35, mate. Everyone's going to turn their attention from Michael Zerafa to you by the looks of things, Eminem. I saw a clip of Floyd firing a ref in his live boxing match. Is that a legit clip, if you've seen it? Yeah, I did see it. That's probably the only footage I've seen, Hanoi. Now, I think it was a right, we'll call it a hook from an orthodox stance, but it looked like, well, the referee thought it got him behind the ear. It wasn't, according probably right on the ear. And you never seen it ever. And Floyd's obviously the promoter of the whole thing, and he's calling the shots, and he literally told the referee to get out, and they replaced the ref, and they continued on with the fight. I just think they didn't want a repeat of the first fight. I only saw the melee in the last fight. I didn't see any of the fight itself, but I think they were just trying to avoid maybe, again, the teams getting into it or any controversy whatsoever. So maybe Floyd just said, look, get out, and we'll get someone in that's not going to cause or give this fight any chance of going the same way as the first fight. But I've never seen it, Hanoi, ever. All right. Looks like after Murtazaliev, Tim fights Lubin in December. Then he gets the winner of Fundora versus Spence, and Jamal Charlo may be coming back to 154. Well, if that's the case, Carl, that would be awesome. I don't think, surely he doesn't fight Lubin in December. Surely. He's fighting, the 19th of October. So he's literally got an 8-week window. Now, surely Murtazaliev is not going to be an easy fight. I just could not see that happen. I would probably think more like maybe February, I would think, if that's the case. But 8 weeks after a fight with a monster like Murtazaliev, I can't see it. But I do like your timeline there, Carl. Lubin, then the winner of Fundora and Spence. Now, that looks like it's going to be about November as well. So that, I would think maybe even Tim and the winner of Fundora and Spence makes sense mid-2025. Stuff Lubin. Who cares about him? He hasn't earned shit. So I wouldn't be surprised if they bypass Lubin, although I know he's a PBC fighter. But I would rather Tim forego Lubin or bypass him and go straight to the winner of Fundora and Spence. I think that is the fight. The problem is, of course, that Spence only likes to fight every 12 to 18 months as well. So if he beats Fundora, we could have a bit of a wait, so maybe he does fight Lubin in the meantime. All right, Big J. Friendly reminder, make sure ring your dad on Sunday for Father's Day. And to all those fellow dads out there, enjoy the day. Is that this Sunday? Is it Big J? Well, that's good because I'm going on Tuesday, and I must admit I was a little bit worried recently that it might have been the week after. So if that is the case, that's great. Yes, and to everyone that still has their dad out there, make sure you have a great day. And if you haven't got your dad, then I hope you get through the day okay. But yep, give your dad a hug if you've still got them, and all of the best to all the fathers out there. All right, Andy, Zerafa looked terrible in the Lara fight, but Arizona Lara is underrated. He went from outside boxer at 154 to a boxer puncher at 160. Very educated and sets good traps. I got Lara to beat Danny Garcia. I'm with you there, Andy. Look, the thing is, I don't know whether it was a trap that he got Michael Zerafa with, but I think on the night, I mean, it's probably unquestionable that Michael really struggled to get into the fight. I suppose that's a bit of an understatement, but to me, he looked a little, not the Michael Zerafa that we get in Australia, where he's brash, he's confident, really fights that way. To me, he was very reactive, and I'm just not quite sure he just turned up on the night. I don't know the reason why. Only Michael Zerafa knows that, but he got caught with that big left hand, and that's all she wrote. But yeah, you're right. Lara does set very, very good traps, and I'm with you. I think he beats Danny Garcia as well. Glenn Rushton didn't stand up. Zerafa, his flight from Brisbane was delayed. Okay, thanks, Big J. It was funny that Michael actually made a joke that he said, even Glenn Rushton's abandoned me. Please refrain from commenting about Floyd Mayweather. He's a bigger chump than McAllister. Damien, hell yeah, everyone who is subscribed to this channel is a legend. Awesome community of people in here and always fantastic coverage and content. Thanks, Damien. I really appreciate that, mate. Especially coming from an Essendon supporter. Don't get a lot of compliments from Essendon supporters, so thank you very much. And if you haven't subscribed, then hit the subscribe button wherever it is on your computer. Thank you. Glenn, Zerafa looked terrible because he was terrible. If one of my guys boxed like that, I'd slap him. Is that you, Glenn Rushton? I know it's not. You've commented on here before. It was. Look at what I think we can all agree. It wasn't a great performance from Michael. He just looked like he what's the best term? I was going to say froze a little bit, but he just got caught. And look, none of us know what it's like to get into center ring at the T-Mobile Arena on a big pay-per-view. He knows everyone back home's watching. He probably knows they all want to see him get knocked out. So it'd be a lot to bear. But end of the day, if you talk it up, you've got to back it up. And I suppose that didn't happen in this case. So it wasn't a great performance, but yeah, look, he's back, and let's see what he's got. I'm not actually going to be too taken aback no matter what happens on Wednesday. I expect Michael Zerafa to absolutely take Tommy Brown apart and no doubt say I'm back, but I want to see him in with some better credible or more credible opponents than that before I change my mind. Good on Cohen for telling the Zoo camp he wasn't giving them £3. Yeah, no, I agree with you, Carl. Zerafa isn't close to Mundine. Boxing needs him. Absolute flog, massively exaggerated level of self-importance. Yeah. Is there any Michael Zerafa supporters on here, guys? Let us know. Put it in the chat there. Anyone defending Michael Zerafa? Let us know. Agreed. Mundine is light years ahead of that clown. Okay. Doesn't look like there's many fans there. But anyway, let us know. Yes and no. There's still plenty of good fights at the PBC for Tim. They have a plethora of 154-pound fighters. Sorry, I said titles. They have a plethora of 154-pound fighters. They do, mate. That's one thing they do have, PBC. So I think that's maybe a reason why Tim said thanks but no thanks to the Saudis, at least for the time being. So I haven't got an issue with it at all. And look, one thing I know from Team Zoo, they're not going to make those types of calls lightly. They're not going to say, man, screw the Saudis, we don't need them. They're going to be very calculated about it. They would realise the PBC have a good stable of 154-pound fighters, and they've stayed true. So no dramas with that. G'day, Batman. How you going there, mate? Welcome to the show. I did see you on the round table on Friday, Batman, and see you're in robust discussions there. They always seem to have some heated battles on there, don't they, or discussions on that channel. They're a little bit different over there. We're all nice and behaved in the chat here, but on the D-Style chat, and subscribe to him as well if you haven't, guys. D-Style Boxing. Yeah, there is a fair bit of back and forth in that chat. All right, Carl, Joe Cordina got KO'd in his last fight. Yep, at 130, and now they're dragging him up to 135. Well, again, showcase fight, Carl. They've got to try and make Shakur Stevenson look good, but at the same time, have a credible opponent, which is Joe Cordina. Even though he did get knocked out in his last fight, was he a two-time world champion? So at least he's credible. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, Terra Mona Jr. and Callum Peters both lost close decisions to eventual gold medalist. Do you think they should concentrate on the pros or stick with the Olympic dream? Go pro, Paul. I don't think Terra Mona, he's the type of, he's a pro. He's already had, 4 or 5 fights. So he's a pro. I totally get and understand why he went to the amateurs to try and win the gold. I don't think it's ever going to really change. He hasn't really got that amateur type of style. I think no matter how many Olympics he went to, Paul, I just got a feeling he'd run into the Russians or Europeans or someone like that with those boxing skills that would outbox him. So I don't see that being an option for him. I don't see him winning Olympic gold at all. I just don't. But in the pros, totally different story. Styles are different in the pros and amateurs, so I think he can make some big inroads in the pros. And Callum Peters, he's a very, very good amateur as well, but he's got pro written all over him. You look at the way he fights like a pro. I think he could be a very good pro, Callum Peters, and in maybe 3 or 4 years' time could be knocking on the door for a world title shot. No problem at all. Very, very good young fighter. So I think both 100% pros, mate. Not like Jai hasn't been calling out Billum Smith loudly. Jai can only fight who is willing to step in front of him. Hopefully, Billum Smith on the December card. Let's hope so, Sam. Doesn't seem to be too keen, though, Sam. Billum Smith. He doesn't really want Jai at all. He seems to tippy-toe around him. Doesn't really mention his name in interviews. So I don't think he wants a bar of Jai. And I've just got a feeling that Jai, I think he might hang around for 2, maybe 3 more fights and go, you know what, I don't need this. I'm moving up to heavyweight. That's where the big fights are. That's where the money is. So that's where I'm going. So keep a lookout for that. I don't think he's that stressed about unifying. He'd like to, but I think if they can't do it in maybe 3 fights' time, I think he'll go up to heavyweight and be done with it. Carl agrees. Bill and Smith won't fight Jai. He'll duck the hell out of that one. I tend to agree, Carl. Still believe after the disrespect of boxing fans, when Shakur fights, we'll have time for a piss break, have a feed, call someone who cares, do the washing, watch the grass grow. Yes, I tend to agree there, Andy. Look, I'm not against him being on the card, but the co-main, it's going to be a long enough day, let alone having to look. I was going to say to watch that one. The good thing about it might give us a chance to maybe have a shower, take the dog for a quick walk, spend a bit of time with the lovely. She's probably pissed off that you've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning watching the fights and keeping her up. I don't know, but it might be a good opportunity to do that. Go and have some breakfast, whatever. But look, I'll watch it, but it better be somewhat exciting or else I'm out of there. Actually, I will have to watch it because I'll be doing the live watch along on it as well. So I'll have to rip my way through it. All right, Trevor, how you going there, mate? Looking forward to Wednesday night's card. Agree, Michael is polarising, but it creates interest and people will watch no matter what the punters say. I agree, Trevor. Will be a great card, so if you can, make sure you get it. And even for the Michael Zerafa fight. Look, I still think the fight will be entertaining. But it's up to you whether you pay for it. But again, I will be doing the live watch along, so check that out. Big J. Okay, we're off topic. What do you got? Why does Mike Tyson get a free pass? The man is a convicted sex offender, and yet people forget that, and he gets to earn millions because of it. Jake Paul to KO him. He's too old to win. Yeah, look, I suppose there's no way of getting around that he's convicted, Big J, but I suppose the asterisk beside it is, I know he's convicted, but there's always two sides to a story. In that instance, I'm not going to cast aspersions either way, but I will give him a little bit of a pass because, yes, he is convicted, but again, when it comes to that sort of thing, there are two sides of the story. So that's probably about it. But yeah, he did do his jail time. Not like, who was that guy in the Olympics, the volleyballer? He was done for sex offending as well, wasn't he? And the crowd let him know all about it, didn't they? Jules from Ring IQ reckons Tiara Brown's style is all wrong for Sky. Well, let's hope we get a chance to see, Paul. We just want to see the best fights. And by all accounts, Sky wants the best fights as well. So let's get her in with Tiara Brown. Where's Carl? I'm sure he's got a comment in there. Tell us, Carl, who's the better? Tiara Brown, Sky Nicholson, or Raven? What's her name? Raven Chapman. Jai needs to move up to heavyweight, says Carl. Cruiserweight is a red-headed stepchild of boxing. Not much goes on there, does there, Carl? Although, you look back in the day, Evander Holyfield, Carlos de Leon, Alexander Usyk, there's been some good heavyweights. Burt Cooper, I think, started at cruiserweight, didn't he? But I'm with you. It is a red-headed stepchild of boxing, that's for sure. Tommy, how much longer is Fundora going to wait around for Spence, who is rumoured to retire? Perfect world, Bud, Fundora, and Buckram, Tszyu, and let the winners fight for undisputed. Give Virgil a Ramos or Lubin. Yeah, well, it still looks like it's going to be Virgil and Bud, though, Tommy. I'm with you, though. I look, what do you got there? So you got Bud. In a perfect world, we'd have Tszyu versus Buckram. We'd have, maybe it's Fundora and Virgil. And then Bud fights the winner of Fundora and Virgil. Tszyu fights maybe Lubin or Ramos, and then we all get the winners. I don't know. I don't care what the concoction is, as long as we have a winner at the end of it. And how good is it, though? We've got those fighters, and you throw in, I'm with you, though, as far as Spence. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he does retire. But if you do throw in the likes of Boachok and Charlo in there as well, maybe Boots goes up, although I think he has said that he's going to stay at 147. Some great fights to be made there, Tommy. I don't care who fights who, as long as at the end of it we get the best fighting the best. Nikita is nuts. Told me some things in an interview, cutting off limbs to make weight, plus other things. He says the boy's crazy. He's definitely out there, Big J, but we love him. Yeah, he's a loose unit, Carl, that's for sure. Robert, how are you there? I'd love to see the Zerafa Tszyu fight just to see Mick have his head punched in again, a la Lara. It's probably safe to say that this isn't the place for the Michael Zerafa fan club on here. But look, I suppose it reflects the boxing fraternity in Australia, doesn't it? Not the most popular fighter. It's amazing just how polarising he is. Crazy. Is that Adrian Broner versus Mayweather? Is that an exhibition, mate? Let's hope not. I don't think Adrian Broner's at the point where he's going to fight Mayweather, is he? He's only had a legit fight a couple of months ago. Paul, how far do you think Jazzy Parr can go? I think she has all the skills, but 112, 118 is probably the deepest in women's boxing. Yeah, look, it's going to be tough for her, Paul. I think she probably needs a few more fights. Look, she obviously is from the Muay Thai background, so it's not like she's inexperienced in fighting. I think she could definitely challenge for a world title for sure, Paul. I think I'd like to see her fight Taylor Robinson, although it looks like they're on separate paths, but that would be a good fight to put together. But you're right, 112 to 118, there are some very, very good young fighters in those divisions. So, yeah, I think she's got a work cut out for her, but I can definitely see her fighting for a world title at some stage. Big J spoke to Sean Porter again today. Great bloke. Besides T Street, he's my favourite Yank in boxing. Excellent that No Limit are getting the American exposure. Yeah, well, I was really surprised he was out here, Big J. Of course, he's been here before numerous times for Tim Tszyu fights. Someone pointed out to me today that he was actually here for Nikita and Dylan Biggs, which was surprising. I forgot about that. But it's a long way from the come for Nikita versus Carl Mazudia. But again, you're right. It's great that he's over here. He's showcasing American boxing to all his followers back in the States. All we need now, this I'm probably parroting D-Style here from his channel, they need to get an Australian boxing app that the Americans, or not just Americans, but the world can see. No Limit need to get themselves with someone, whether it be DAZN or whoever, but they need to get an app where Americans can watch Aussie boxing live. And I don't know why it hasn't happened so far. I'm sure there's a good reason, but so far there hasn't really been one that I've seen. Damien, No Limit need an overseas TV. Oh, there you go. Need an overseas TV deal. Why not DAZN worldwide and obviously Fox here? Well, obviously it can't be DAZN because they're with Tasman fighters. But if Tasman maybe give that contract up, you would think that No Limit would jump straight into that. And I can't believe when DAZN came to Australia, they wouldn't have looked at No Limit in the first place. Surely they would have looked at it and said, all right, well, who's the main promoters in Australia and who's got the TV rights there? And unlike probably any other country in the world, No Limit have got a 100% monopoly on TV boxing. They would have said, all right, well, they need a streaming platform, then it's got to be DAZN. I know there's KO, but you can't get KO overseas. So unless, obviously, you get a VPN, I suppose they could do that. But, yeah, it does make sense. It just makes when you think about all the sense in the world that No Limit would be with DAZN. So let's see what happens again down the track. They're trying to make Bakoli versus Zhang in China or Africa. How big would that be on the undercard to a Wilder, Chisora or something? It'd be massive, Tommy. Zhang in China, wow, that would just be out of control. Bakoli would be, in Africa would be great. But I think China probably makes the most sense. That would probably be the place I would see the Saudis wanting to go. The undercard Wilder Chisora, yeah, it does make sense, although there's been talk about Wilder fighting Francis Ngannou. So, yeah, lots of possibilities there. But, yeah, a Zile Zhang fight in China, wow, it'd just be huge. Zerafa said that he couldn't believe that Tim, that Tim got another shot after the Fundora loss. Took all I had to tell him he was a champion and you weren't. Hang on, let's go back. Zerafa said he couldn't believe that Tim got another shot after the Fundora loss. Took all I had to tell him he was a champion and you weren't. That's why. I suppose when you're the interviewer, Big J, you've probably got to bite your tongue sometimes, especially someone like Michael, who has been a little bit sensitive in the past, let's say. Doesn't really like getting told home truths like that. But you're right. The thing is, Tim is still a big name in the States. And the fact of the matter is that I don't think you had to be blind, Freddie, to see that Tim Tszyu was under very extenuating circumstances in that fight with Fundora. And he lost that fight. So I think I've got no dramas. And credit to the IBF and Murtazalia for wanting that fight. And also, of course, Tim for taking it. But I think that's the reason why. It's not like he was knocked out in 2 rounds or belted or whatever. Very extenuating circumstances was that loss. So that's why he's getting another shot at the title. Tommy B, the issue with Mick and his team at the time was not getting to Sydney for the fight. It was potentially having to quarantine on the way back to Melbourne, which his team at the time didn't want to do. Well, did everyone? I don't think Barry Michael had to quarantine, Tommy, or maybe he did. Not quite sure what the problem is, just being at home for a few days in between that would have hurt. But I don't know. Each to their own. They've got their own reasons for doing it. It's so funny these days, though, that you've got in this instance here with the whole quarantine thing and not being able to go out of borders and fly and all that sort of stuff. And these days it's like having a cold. You got a mate. Oh, what's wrong, mate? You been a bit crook? Yeah, I had COVID. Oh, yeah, all good. Yep, we moved on. It's like it's just an afterthought these days, whereas 3 years ago, the world was coming to an end. It's crazy times. Andy, it seems Canelo is planning to do something I said would be his last best legacy move since a Bivol rematch fell through. Chase winner of light heavyweight undisputed. WBC and WBA would bend over for it. We'll see. Yeah, well, geez, David Benavides wouldn't be happy with that, would he? If Canelo jumped the line, would he? But he has made some noise about it in the past few days or weeks, whatever it has been. So don't be surprised. I don't think down inside, though, Andy, that Canelo really wants that fight with Bivol, especially Beterbiev. At least with Bivol, he's going to get his ears sort of boxed off. Beterbiev is going to try and steamroll him, which I think he probably would. So I think he might just wait and see who actually wins that fight. I don't think he beats either of those guys, Canelo. But I think if Beterbiev wins, I think that move to light heavyweight will be put on the back burner very, very quickly. Tommy, Sean Porter is a legend in Perth at the open workout before Cambosis. He spent so much time speaking to everyone. He certainly did, Tommy. I met him that day as well, and he hung around. He took photos. He spoke to everyone. Really, really good dude. Really is. Let's go 4 women's only cards, Kyle, and check how long that lasts, says Damien. Big J, Zerafa said that he couldn't believe that... oh, no, so I've already been through that one. Yes, subscribe, share, and smash. Yes, thank you. That opponent for Moton was awful, though. I'd have stopped that guy in a round also. He wasn't much chop, was he, Batman? We've seen a few of those guys over here in the past, Batman. They tend to bring the ties over here. I know the poor old Mexicans cop it over there in the States, and that as far as the being sent to the slaughter. But over here, it's the Thais or Indonesians or someone. But, yeah, he wasn't much, was he? All right, still with Batman. Moton is a top talent. The 8-0 guy he fought was decent opposition for him Saturday. It was a step back, really, yeah. Well, I think there was not a lot of money put into the card, Batman. I think they were all trying to line their own pockets, and I think they knew that people were only watching the Mayweather fight, so they just threw him wherever they could probably get off the streets of Tijuana or wherever it was, Mexico City, wherever it was. All right, Big J, Raven is a bashing bum and ranked longer than Brown. Eddie protecting Sky, and you know it. Similar to why that Ray Gunn got into the Olympics with the right guy. I've been waiting for Ray Gunn to pop up. I saw today. Who was it? I can't believe I saw it on Instagram today. Someone's story. I nearly fell off my chair laughing. It was a Karate Kid poster, and they put Ray Gunn in there, and they called it the... what did they call it? Not the Breaking Kid or something like that, and they had Ray Gunn doing the kangaroo on the post on the beach instead of the crane. It was pretty funny. Anyway, you had to be there. But yeah, you guys can sort it out in the chat there. Should Zerafa look ordinary versus Brown to attract Nikita next? That's not a bad question, James. No, it doesn't work that way, boxing, mate. I think Zerafa will want to, wipe Tommy Brown out. I think he's a little pent-up aggression there, I think, James, coming off that loss in March. He's felt all the heat from the Aussie boxing public. I think he's going to want to get in there and absolutely wipe Tommy Brown out. Do a little bit of gladiator stuff with the arms out and say, are you not entertained, to the crowd, and say, bring on Nikita next. That's what I think he'll do. Batman, doesn't the pay-per-view with Nikita and Mick sell itself? Yeah, you're right. The problem is, though, Batman, is that I think what Mick's trying to do is to get the Australian public actually demanding the fight. You're right. Pay-per-view would be huge no matter, whether Mick's talking or not. I think people would get behind it. But I think what is happening at the moment is Michael probably knows that Team Zoo aren't really keen. No Limits sort of lukewarm because they're getting feedback from Team Zoo. So I think Mick is just trying to really make it so that the boxing public are actually asking for the fight and put the pressure on Team Zoo to actually take the fight. Because if he doesn't, I don't think Team Zoo could be bothered with it. Is next Monday your last Talking Boxing until you get back? Yeah, it is, mate. Yeah, so I'll be on next Monday night. I fly out Tuesday morning. So, yes, I'll be on next week as normal. I'll have to put the Walking Boxing on ice for a couple of weeks, unless maybe I might do a few episodes over in the States. I'm going to get around a little bit. I'll be all over the place. I think I've said on here in the past anyway, but I'll be in Philadelphia for starters. Then I'll be up in Deer Lake at Muhammad Ali's training camp. Then I'll be over to Shanksville, Pennsylvania, then down to Gettysburg, and then down to Washington, and then across to Vegas. So I'm going to be doing a lot in the 2 weeks I'm there. So if we get a chance, maybe I'll do a few walking boxings, but I will be doing a live vlog every day. So make sure you check out my socials every night for the daily videos. Saw some rumours Canelo wants the Bivol Better Beef winner. Yep, we spoke about that. I could see Bivol, but if Better Beef, geez, a few tongue twisters there. If Better Beef gets the stoppage, I don't see Canelo taking the fight. Yeah, I'm with you, mate. Don't see it. Mike Tyson's already paid for his crimes there. No, I agree. I think the fact, Better Beef at light heavyweight is bad news for Canelo. Yes, 100% agree, Andy. I think the fact the Tyson fight is still happening is an absolute disgrace. I'm with you, Batman. I don't want to see it. I would have went to see it, actually. I'm going to be back over there in mid to late November. I'm going to miss that fight by a week. I would have went just for the entertainment factor, but I don't want to see the fight, Batman. I really don't. I don't want to see Mike Tyson in there. I think it's going to end badly with him, for him, I think. So, agreed. And for me, Nikita would stop Zerafa. While you're probably the first person I've sort of found, Batman, that agrees with me. I think Nikita, even with 9 or 10 fights, still beats Michael. So, Diego Pacheco wins this weekend over Solecki. Could you see him throwing his hat in the 168 sweepstakes? He's the number 1 ranked guy in the WBO. Yeah, it does make sense, Tommy. Apart from Christian and Billy, there is literally nobody else at all. I did do a video saying don't put a line through the Crawford fight just yet for next May. Just in my opinion, I just think the fact that there's nobody really for Canelo to fight. I think money talks, and I just think we still might get that fight in May. Or does Crawford retire? I don't know. I just got a feeling that Crawford, he wants that fight and nothing else. And I think if he jumps up and down enough and really looks Turki Al-Sheikh in the eye and says, Turki, this is the fight I want. I don't want any other fights. I want this fight. I've got a feeling that Turki will find a way to get the money to make it happen, or at least get all parties at the table to make it happen. All right, is anyone else as impressed with the free-to-air cards of both amateur and pros as I am? They are putting on genuine fights with boys and girls who want to fight, and it shows. Which one's that, mate? Is that the what is it? The Premier Boxing Series? Is that the one, Luke? Whoever, whatever fights I put on the other week were fantastic. The Premier Boxing Series, they were great. Turkey has stated that his people are in positive discussions with the PBC. Well, if that happens, Sam, you might just have all the pieces in place. You might be checkmate as far as getting full control of boxing. Lubin said it in commentary on the Pro Box card on Wednesday last week, okay, about fighting Tim in December. I'd still believe it when I see it, Carl. The brutality of Jeff Horn, Michael Zerafa fights washed them both, I think. Yeah, that was a tough fight. That the second fight especially, James. Unbelievably tough fight that was. Just crazy. Lubin will be mandatory. Okay, yeah. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if it's sort of February or March next year for Tim and Lubin, if that is the fight that takes place. I think the exact same about Lubin. I'm pretty sure they're only doing it to piss off the mandatory straight away here, maybe. Michael looks shell-shocked. Yep. Definitely froze up. I've seen many do similar normally at a lower level, though. Yeah, well, sometimes you don't really know how you're going to react under the bright lights until it's too late. Eminem says got no problems paying $70 for cars like this. Yep. I like Zerafa. He had one crap performance last fight. So does a lot of people. Yep, good. We've got our first Zerafa fan on here. Thanks, Damien. They love a good debate over on the round table. They certainly do, mate. It's a great show. It really is. Great panel of hosts on there too, Batman. Who's next for Camo KO? Don't know, Eminem. I would still love to see him fight Isaac Harbin. I don't know why they can't make that fight happen. Find the money, guys. Or Kamakao and Michael Zerafa next. Make that fight happen. Kamakao, I mean, I love Kamakao. He's great for the sport here in Australia. But I don't want to see him fight guys like, who did he beat on the weekend? Wes Kappa. I want him to now step up and take one of these big fights. And whether it's Hardman or it's Zerafa, I don't think it's going to be Matteo Tapia because he's now going to be on the Tim Tszyu card if you didn't see that. He'll be on that card in October. So I want to see Kamakao in a Hardman or Zerafa fight next. Bring it on. At least Jai be in a unification fight in December, please. Let's hope so, Damien. Smith knows what Jai will do to him, honestly, and so does his management. I tend to agree. Batman. Just seen, there you go. Just seen that Matteo Tapia is fighting on the Tszyu undercard versus Saavedra, the Venezuelan who knocked out Isaac Harbin. Yeah, it should be a great fight. Is that who he's fighting? I didn't know that, Paul. Thanks for filling us in. So if you didn't know, yep, Matteo Tapia fighting the guy that knocked out Isaac Harbin. So that should be a ripper. How good would a fight with between Matteo Tapia and Michael Zerafa be? Now, this is a thing to put on the opposite foot. Michael's pushing for either Nikita or Tim. How about fighting Matteo Tapia? That, I think, is the fight that really marries up with Michael Zerafa, both world-class, both world-ranked. Why not get that fight and the winner maybe gets a crack at either Nikita or Tim? I don't know. Big Joe, never had a problem with Zerafa. He's appeared on T Street's channel several times and always been polite and courteous to me. Just don't agree with the belittling of another fighter. Yep, I agree there, mate. What do we got? Nothing will be better out Shakur on the first few fights, so we don't have to get up so early. I'm with you, mate. Buy the pay-per-view, guys. Geez, these Snickers are still working. Keep them coming, Damien. You've been very well behaved tonight, mate. I'm proud of you. Brown KO Sky says, Big J. Kyle, where are you, mate? Come on. Fly the flag for Sky Nicholson. There you go. Let's go, Zerafa, says Damien. Carl, if Turkey had any brains, he'd have a Super Series tournament at 154. What's happened to those now? The World Series of, it's been about 6 years since we had the last one. He'd have Super Series, Tim, Bud, Virgil, Spence, Fundora, Mendoza, Murtazalia, Bolachuk, Ramos, Charlo. That would be insane. Wow, sure would be. If anyone can make that happen, Carl, it's Turkey. Put up a first prize of, I don't know, 10 to 15 million bucks, and I reckon you'd get them all signed up. Bumbosis versus Floyd, the big Spartan Spud. Mark, jeez. Is that... Are you talking about Cambosis there? It's the Spartan Spud. Come on, guys. First, Michael Zerafa, and now our man George. Joseph Parker has disappeared of late. When is he fighting next? No word yet, Carl. I hope he doesn't get forgotten about. I really do. He's earned another big fight. We're all talking about Zile Zhang, but he got absolutely schooled by Joseph Parker. And Joseph Parker, you're right, has been completely forgotten about. So let's hope it's not for too long, mate, and we see him signed up to a big fight very soon. Carl, I couldn't be a reporter. You and me both, mate. I couldn't do it either. Full respect to the guys and girls that do it. A lot of the times it's off their own money or on the back of their own money, get into these events. But I'm with you there, mate. Being a reporter, not for me. Is Liam Parra going to duck the best at 140 and fight Cambosis in some Australian extravaganza? Not next anyway, Garden Snake. Cambosis has another fight, from what I hear, lined up, and it's not going to be Liam Parra. I'll be honest, still annoyed they even let that fight continue. Tszyu should have been more protected in that situation. Luckily, he didn't take a beating in that condition. I agree, Batman. To this day, I've been fully supportive of what they've done for Team Tszyu so far. But I can't believe that the corner didn't stop the fight. And more important, I can't believe the doctor didn't take one look at that cut and go, boys, this is over. I've seen way less cuts get stopped. So still bewilders me, and Tim would still have his belt. Or belts. Okay, Moses Ituama calling for Parker. Okay, let's see if that happens. Parker definitely much further along, but Moses apparently still trying to break Tyson's record and become the youngest champion in heavyweight history. So a fight like Parker will be a step in that direction, but it won't happen. No reason for Parker to take it. Yeah, I agree, Batman. Why would you? Doesn't make sense at all. Yeah, good call there. Wouldn't mind Parker versus Ajit. I like it. Carl, Tommy Brown doesn't stand a chance, to be honest. I'm with you, Carl. I think it's going to be a very easy night at the office for Michael Zerafa. Look, he might have a bit of a crack. And I don't want to be disrespectful to Tommy. He's a fighter, and I respect whoever's in there. But I think he's game for 2, 3, 4 rounds, and I think Michael Zerafa gets him out of there. Walking boxing live from the UFs, yep. If I can do it, Batman, I'll do it. Who knows? Maybe I'll do a walking boxing on the battlefields of Gettysburg. How good would that be? Or walking around Muhammad Ali's training camp. Or walking up the Rocky Steps until his statue. Where else am I going? I would never do it at Shanksville. That's where I'm going for the Flight 93 monument. I won't do it there. But Washington, I could do it from the White House out the front. I could do that. I could go out there, and who am I screaming for? Team Trump or Team Kamala? Let us know. Don't let me know. We don't want to get into politics tonight. Yeah, do some episodes from the States, and if you could do one on the Rocky Tour, holy shit. Yeah, well, I might do that. I'll definitely do a video of it, Damien. There'll be a day of the whole Rocky thing, so don't worry about that. I might do it. What I'm actually thinking about doing is actually running the steps with my camera, so you guys can run the steps with me. So I'm going to run from the bottom to the top, turn around, so you guys can see the sights that Rocky would have seen when he's on top of the stairs. I can't guarantee I'm going to do this, put the hands up in the air and carry on, because I'm not really one to carry on in public, but there'll probably be 20 other people doing it there. I'm sure it happens day in, day out at the steps, but I will be doing some stuff from there, mate. And as I said, the Muhammad Ali training camp as well. I just feel Nikita's aggressiveness, an explosive burst would overwhelm Mick, who'd probably just sit there with a high guard, even get outworked or even stopped. Yeah, that's a good call there, mate. Well, who's your fighter of the year so far? Jeez, mate, you've put me on the spot there. Very, very good call. Who is the fighter of the year? Who have we got? Could you put an Anthony Joshua, Terence Crawford, Canelo? Probably still Inoue. I would still say maybe Inoue the fighter of the year for me. Just saw that Russian-born number 4, Sergey Vorobov has called out Nikita on Instagram and released footage of him dropping Mazzuti out. Yep, committed. The cardinal sin, Jay, is put sparring footage on social media. You don't do that. I don't think he's much of a chance against Nikita, if I'm being honest there, Jay. But good on him. He's taking a leaf out of Michael Zerafa's playbook, isn't he? When's our round table happening? Got a bit going on at the moment. Big Joe, of course, I'm overseas next week, and a bit happening. Maybe towards the end of the year we'll be getting something happening, mate. I've got a bit going on with the business at the moment as well. Throw Andre Mikhailovich into the Zerafa Tapia mix. Zerafa is a middleweight after all, not a 154-pounder. Andre is now with no limit too. There you go, Paul. I just forgot all about Andre Mikhailovich. I don't think the Tapia fight, or it could. No, I don't think that happens. I think Matteo Tapia is well and truly on the way to his own world title shot, and the fight in America will probably be one step closer, of course. Mikhailovich and Zerafa, that is the fight to make. Zerafa, of course, had the fight in March, the world title disaster. Andre Mikhailovich didn't get his opportunity. I love that fight, Paul. Andre Mikhailovich versus Michael Zerafa. Let's bring it on. Who wins? Kambosos TO2 is what I've been hearing. I've been hearing that too, Carl. Facts, no way the Tszyu fight should have continued. Yep. Hit the go live button from your YouTube channel. Okay, well, should I do it on YouTube? Okay, I might do that. Or don't they do Instagram live as well? Is that the easy way to do it? I don't know. I've never done a YouTube live, I don't think. Or I don't think I've even done a Instagram live, if I'm to be fair either. But either way, mate, I'm just looking at the times. That's probably the only issue. If I was going to do it at, say 7 o'clock at night, it would be, what is that? It would be about 5 o'clock in the morning over there. So we might have a few dramas doing that. I might have to be in the morning. So if it was, just trying to think there, if it was about, I don't know, what's over there? It's 7 o'clock in the morning, or 10 to 7 in the morning over there now. If I did it at about, I don't know, 10 o'clock in the morning, it would be midnight over here. It's probably the best I can do. I could do it at 9 o'clock in the morning, which would be 11 o'clock here. Anyway, we'll work something out. But either way, plenty of videos coming your way. Be careful if you start screaming Trump 2024 in Philly. You won't make it back to Australia. It's a bit of a blue state, isn't it? Garden Snake up that way in the Pennsylvania area. Yeah, well, I'll be honest, Garden Snake. I am a Trump man. I'm not getting in that with that. I'm probably, where's the views? I probably lost about half of them by saying that, but I am a Trump man. But we're not getting into politics tonight. My fighter of the year would be Bam Rodriguez. Okay, Carl, I don't mind that either. Bam Rodriguez, have been a great year for him as well. If Usyk beats Fury again, that's my fighter of the year. Yeah, 100%, Andy. Without question, it will be Alexander Usyk. Kambosos is going to get another title shot. You've got to be kidding me. Yeah, that is the word Garden Snake. But look, I don't know. I've heard a few different ones. One thing I'm positive about, though, it won't be Liam Paro. That's probably the one thing I have spoken to very, very good sources about that. It won't be Liam Paro in the next one for George Kambosos, but there has been rumours that it could be Teofimo Lopez, so we'll see. Yep, Cambo and Kambosos and Teofimo Lopez there, Andy. So we'll see. All right, so we're almost. I lean right, but Trump, like Biden, is too old. Okay, we'll have a quick chat about politics. What about 10 minutes to go? Yeah, look, Paul, I'm with you there, mate. I think when it comes to the American political scene, it is a circus over there. I think maybe both camps could have come up with someone a little bit more younger and more suitable. You had, Kamala Harris now, of course, is the Democratic pick, and maybe they had the Republicans had. They had someone like who's the Florida guy, DeSantis. Maybe he could have stepped up. But anyway, it's definitely been interesting, hasn't it, the whole thing? But it's going to be interesting now. I think Trump would have won in an absolute landslide if it had been Biden. But at least Kamala Harris has made it very, very interesting. But either way, there's going to be hell to pay no matter who wins. You would think that if Trump wins, if Harris wins, I don't think there'll be a lot of trouble, but there'll be a hell of an outroar from the Republican supporters. And then if Trump wins, that the Democrat supporters will probably burn the country down. That seems to be their style, doesn't it? Look at all the Black Lives Matter and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, that's about as much as I'm going to talk about the political scene tonight. It only ends one way, and that's in arguments and people saying bad things to other people. All right, Andy, Tszyu is good, justified in my opinion, because Kambosos won first and Tszyu wants to get his title back. I think it makes all the sense in the world, Andy. I really do. I think that there's not much at 135 for George Kambosos at the moment. He's sort of been, he's a little bit out of the gang at the moment. All the other lightweights seem to all be in talks with each other, and that's fine. He's just out of the mix at the moment. He's coming off the loss to Lomachenko, of course. And Teofimo Lopez, you'd think that Devin Haney's not part of the action at the moment. Ryan Garcia's not part of the action. Subriel Matias is probably going to have to make his way back. So not a lot. You wouldn't have thought that Venezuela would be too interested in fighting Lopez next, who, of course, he just beat Rolly Romero. So I just think it's a good time, if the fight's going to happen, to do it now. I just think it's a good fight for all concerned. Paro deserves unification instead to build his own legacy. Yeah, well, I think the good thing about with Liam, he's got the belt now, so you're going to have all just not the contenders, but also the champions of the division that are going to want to fight him. So who got the belt? So we've got Venezuela's got the WBA. Puello's got the WBC. Liam's got the the IBF. And Tio's got the WBO. So for me, out of all those fights, I think the most attractive one is probably Liam and probably, I was going to say, if Tszyu does fight Kambosos, that would mean maybe Liam and Valenzuela would be a great fight to make. So maybe they're both looking to unify. That would be a ripper fight. Valenzuela and Paro, whoa, ripper fight. So we'll see. All right, guys, we've got a few minutes to go. If you've got anything else, let me know. And we'll get on. Kambosos has got 4 belts in one fight. Paro can build. If Cambo's upset, then entertain Paro versus Cambo, in my opinion. Yeah, he's definitely still got some options there, Andy. I think that he's still a name. Even some of the up-and-coming lightweights might look at George and say, okay, this is a name we'd like on our scalp. Maybe, who knows, it could be a Sean Davis, an up-and-comer. Could be some of the other prospects. There's a few out there anyway. But could look at George Kambosos as a name on the record. So lots of options there for George. Damien, another great episode. Hope everyone has a fantastic week. See most of you back here for the live chat Wednesday for this kick-ass event. Thanks, Damien. Yeah, so just to recap before I go, Wednesday night from 7 p.m, I'll be doing a live watch-along, not a live stream. I've got to always clarify that is not a live stream. I think you're all smart enough to realise that I can't just show the fight. So I'll be doing the live watch-along. So whether you're a boxing fan, it just wants to watch it with other boxing fans, or you can't watch or don't want to pay to watch it, whatever, jump on, and it'll just be us discussing the fights. And also during probably 3 fights, I'll be doing a bit of the commentary as well. So, and then what do we got next? Monday, as usual, we're talking boxing, and then off on the Tuesday, and then you'll have all my updates and daily videos after that. So looking forward to taking you all along on my trip to the US. So can't wait. So guys, we're a couple of minutes early, but I'm going to end it there. Hope you have a great week. Make sure you look out for walking boxing every morning. Plenty of stuff to talk about, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks, guys.